Hello friends, how's it going today? It's a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas. It is, let me close this, it's 10:30 and it's 85 degrees. Later this afternoon it won't be so lovely. It's going to be probably over 100 degrees, but right now it's not bad. Today I have a very special video going north of Austin just a tad, and going to meet a gentleman named Gary Davis, a famous Hollywood stuntman. I won't say too much else other than that. When I get there I'll introduce him and you'll learn all about him. But what I want to talk about right now is just kind of how I met Gary. So my last video I did was at the Motorhead's Motorcycle Museum in Burnet, Texas, and that's where the story kind of begins. I used to ride my bike by that museum quite often, and I never knew if it was really open or not, just because there was usually not many cars there, or I was tired and I just wanted to get home because I've been riding for a couple hours. So one day when my buddy and I stopped in and paid a visit to the place, walked around, checked out all the cool motorcycles. So I thought to myself, you know, a lot of other motorcyclists probably ride by this like I do and never stop because they're tired or they don't know if it's open. Or so I said, if the owners are cool, I'll try and contact them. If they're cool, I'll just do a video with them and then put it out so people can see more about this museum. And so that's what I did, and I got in touch with the owners, and they are awesome people. Pat and his wife, it's such nice people. So check that video and you'll see Pat's really cool. So in that curiosity of mine of kind of checking it out, and I liked it and I want to pass it on to people, meeting Pat was familiar with Gary, and Pat really enjoyed the video we did together and said, you know what, I have a guy that's a friend of mine, I think it would be a really cool interview for you. And I was like, who's that? And that's where he introduced me to Gary. And I called Gary and we talked, and Gary is amazing. And now we're doing a video together. So it's just like, you know, keeping those doors open and reaching out through curiosity to connect with other people that are not in your immediate circle of family, friends, or coworkers. And you never know where it's going to lead you, you know. So now I'm on my bike heading over to Gary's to do a video with him, and I am very excited about this. It's really cool. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I've got about another 30 minutes or so to get there, and I will see you soon. Hey friends, what's up? I'm here in this amazing place. I'm going to introduce you to this wonderful man next to me here in a couple of minutes. I've taken notes. I apologized because his life is so rich and full, and the background is just, I had to take notes and write things out, so I'm going to be reading off of this occasionally. I apologize for that, but it's just too much. I don't want to miss anything. So this handsome gentleman next to me is Gary Davis. Gary, how you doing? Good to see you. So those that don't know who Gary is, Gary has spent more than 5 decades in Hollywood, in movies, as a stunt professional, as a stunt coordinator, as second director in a lot of Hollywood movies, such as Terminator 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, Thor, X-Men Days of Future Past, Lost Boys, Lethal Weapon 2, and many, many more. Long before CGI became commonplace, Gary was helping create some of the most exciting action sequences ever filmed. In 1972, he set a world record by jumping 21 cars on a motorcycle, beating Evel Knievel's record of 19 cars. And later in 2018, He was inducted into the American Motorcycle Association Hall of Fame. Today we're going to get a little back, the kind of behind the scenes, pull the curtain of Hollywood and Gary's life. So let's welcome Gary to the show. Yay! All right. So Gary, thank you so much for letting me come over here. And on the way here, I talked about how I met Pat that runs and owns the museum, and how I made my way through him, and he introduced us, and that's how we got here. So it was a kind of cool thing of reaching out and being curious about other people. I'd like to start by kind of exploring your childhood a little bit, just to kind of get to know, what a stunt person, what are they like? You see those kids at the park that jump off slides and do backflips off monkey bars. Well, that obviously he could probably be a stunt person. But let's start there. So what kind of little kid were you? Were you a crazy little kid, or were you just like run-of-the-mill normal little dude?
I was kind of that kid.
You were that kid?
I always was tearing my bicycle apart and making it look different and change it around. And then eventually when I graduated into motorcycles, I did the same thing. I would take them apart and change the displacement of the engine or retime the cam and do things that just to goof off. But as a child, I would climb up trees, or I would get on the roof of our house and try and take a sheet and hold all the corners and jump off and think it was going to slow me down before I got to the ground.
The paratrooper.
Yeah, bad idea. And when I landed one of the times, my knee came up and hit me in the chin, and I bit right through my tongue, so that wasn't very good.
Oh, okay. But that didn't persuade you.
No, I stayed stupid like that my whole life. I've always been the guy that, they would say, well, if he doesn't want to do it, get Gary Davis. He'll probably do it. It was fun to have that reputation for a while, but then it got kind of crazy.
Yeah. So as you got a little older and stuff, did you ever have, some people very young or blessed in a way that they just know exactly what they want to do and they just go for it? Did you have your sights like oh, I want to be in Hollywood, I want to be a stuntman, or I want to be an actor, did you have that, or did you kind of get to that place through the way your life unfolded and you just kind of took advantage of certain opportunities and it kind of just led you there?
The latter of those two. Mm-hmm. I never ever, probably the word stuntman had never even come across my lips until I was out of high school, at least. As a child, I studied the martial arts, and then I was a gymnast in high school. I didn't play many of the or at least I wasn't a starter in many of the jock sports. Mm-hmm. I was always going off to karate class and stuff. And in school, in high school, I actually thought I was going to be some sort of a drafting engineer. I liked to draw, and in drafting classes, we're real serious about getting everything just right and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when I kind of got talked into the electronic field a little bit, because computers were something people were talking about, but they didn't really exist. And little hand adding machines were about as advanced as we had.
Sure.
In the 60s. And then, so my dad said that I should study electronic engineering, and so I went to Arizona, and went to two schools actually, Arizona State and DeVry Tech, to get my degree in electronics engineering. But my minor was in physics, and that's what interests me the most.
Oh, okay.
And physics is something that not only do I live with every day, but you do as well. I mean, physics is everywhere. And
one foot in front of the other.
That's it, right?
Doesn't work, you go down.
And so I was. I used to in high school, I used to ride my motorcycle to school and stuff, and I would ride wheelies all over the place, and I'd get in trouble for riding wheelies in the parking lot of the high school. My dad was a cop, and so I would embarrass him when the cops would come and give me a hard time about doing that kind of stuff, and they'd call my dad, you know. So that was embarrassing for my dad more than me. But when I went away to college, I was at a lunch break, and I went out and got on my motorcycle and started showing off, riding my bike up and down the alley. And a guy approached me, one of the students, and said that he had just bought a racing motorcycle he was going to make street legal and ride on the street. But what would I like to do if I, would I like to try and ride his bike on a racetrack there in Phoenix, Arizona? And I said, no, I don't know anything about that. And later that day, after a few beers and stuff, they convinced me that I should at least try. And so we went to Manzanita Speedway, which is a big track. And it was a TT track, so it was a big half-mile oval with a center track that you go around, make left turns and right turns in and stuff. And I got off a line, got into the turn first, fell down, and everybody ran me over, so they restarted the race. and because you get penalized for being the reason they stopped the race, they put me in the back row. But I ended up, after that whole race, I ended up second place, and I thought, well, I didn't do so bad, there was 20 other bikes, and I ended up second place. So I asked if I could try it again the following week, and I won the next week. And all of a sudden I thought, well, this is something I really seem to do well. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think it's mostly because of my gymnastics background, because I didn't really ever race. I played with engines and rode wheelies, and that was it. And then I started racing, and I got Novice of the Year that year, and I would do the same thing. Only now they're asking me to go out at halftime and do the wheelies and show off, and I'd stand on the seat and turn around and do all kinds of dumb stuff. And a promoter approached me and said, "You ever thought about jumping over cars for a living?" And I went, "No, that's really stupid." But he had a big wad of bills in his pocket, and he said, "I will pay to build the ramp, and I guarantee you we'll have you jumping at a different city or state every weekend." And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm still in school. I have another year of college left, and but I'll do that if I can do it different than Evel Knievel. If I can find one of my friends here that'll do it with me, and we'll cross in the air and make it a different show. And so we did, and we traveled around. My third jump was the world record jump, and so that launched our career really good.
Third jump?
My third public jump.
That was quick.
First one was in Phoenix, second one was in Mexico City, and the third one was in Ontario Motor Speedway. And so that launched our career, and after 2 years of that, I got kind of tired of that. Dealing with promoters that always wanted to jack up what we were doing, and then people get there and say, well, that's not what they advertised,
Yeah. All right, so before we get into like the Hollywood stuff, just one last question about your childhood. What motorcycle or mini bike or go-kart or what was your first kind of motorized two-wheel vehicle, I guess, if you will, that got you kind of into the motorcycles to begin with?
A Tohatsu 50.
Yeah, and that was what did that look like?
It was a mini motorcycle, not a mini. It was just a small motorcycle. It was a 50cc Japanese bike.
At a kickstart?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the first bike you got into, and riding in the dirt and having fun.
Yeah, I was too young to ride it on the street, so I only rode it in our yard mainly. I don't know if this book has. There it is.
Okay. Very cool. Now we'll move forward a little bit in your life, obviously, and then you've done your jump with your buddy, you started doing jumps, and you got the 21 car record, right?
Yes.
And then how long after that was the new direction in your path?
Month or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
I didn't know what I was going to do. Honestly, I thought I was maybe going to open up an advertising agency or something, because I had dealt with these people every weekend somewhere, and I thought I learned a lot of things I wouldn't do, and I think they should do better, and so
Marketing events and things like
yeah.
this. Yeah.
And so I was scratching my head about how to jump into that, and the phone call literally came out of the blue.
So your first, we'll tie this in here. I looked on IMDb, the database online there, and saw your first credit was CC and Company, I think in 1970, I believe.
Yeah, and that's incorrect.
Okay. As it is
I
sometimes.
didn't join Screen Actors Guild until 1973.
Okay.
I don't know why that says that. There's there's probably 150 of my projects not even on IMDb. And then there's that one, and I think there's one other one that's on there, and I don't know where they got any of that information from.
Okay. All right. So we'll can that. But the last one was listed as 2025 Walking Dead. Was that was legit?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I had to go set some people on fire.
So that's that's like 55 years approximately.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so you're still, after 50 years, you're still setting people on fire and throwing people through windows and whatnot.
It's easier than setting myself on fire.
Yeah, that's for sure. So let's talk about Evel Knievel, because that's where you got the call a few months later to kind of get involved in that to some degree.
First I got the call to get into the movie business and double Sam Elliott, who was playing Evel Knievel in that pilot. And Evel found out that I was doing it, because Evel didn't care much for me because I had just broken his record, and even though I always called him Mr. Knievel when I was interviewed, he really didn't like that, because Evel was an important part of his name.
Sure.
And so I would call him Mr. Knievel just to needle him a little bit. And so when he found out I was doing all the stunt work on the pilot, he took a whole bunch of his equipment away from the company, so he had to bring in my stuff.
Oh, wow. And then how long did that last, the actual job and all that for that show?
Well, the show probably took a month for them to film, and I was only on it for 10 days, 2 weeks maybe.
And then in that, if you get that and you sit and watch that movie, so all the times where Evel Knievel did jumps or was doing something, that was you in the suit.
Yeah, Evel wasn't involved in it, other than they were using his name, and he made money off the fact that it was a story that involved him, fictitious story.
Oh, okay.
But Sam Elliott was playing him the whole time. That's the first guy I ever doubled.
Okay, but then you did end up working with him, though, right?
Eventually, 3 years later. Well, that's partially not true. A year and a half later, he crashed over the 13 buses in London, and he then called me out of the blue and said, Gary, this is Evel.
Oh, he didn't call you Mr. Davis?
No.
Hey, Mr. Knievel, what's up?
And I said, no, who is this really? Because it was like 3 a.m, And it took me a while for him to convince me that it really was him. He said he needed me to come and finish his European tour for him. So off I went to Europe.
Very interesting. Yeah, so at my age, like we were talking before, I mean, Evel Knievel was uber famous. I had his little wind-up little toy and all that stuff, and it's interesting to learn a little bit about that background of his ability with motorcycles was a little sketch, and he was heard a lot. I mean, I think he was more famous for that. Just in my mind was that image of him I think it was the Vegas one where he crashed over the fountain, I believe.
Yeah, and it was on
and
on television
he
every
ragdolled
week.
and with the Wild World
Wild
of
World
Sports.
Sports. It was in the opening credits. I mean, every week.
Yeah, I think like if he did all those jumps and never got hurt, he'd still be famous, but not as famous. I think that
Correct.
getting crushed on and beat up all the time was got him kind of famous.
I don't know. Even when I was jumping, most people I don't think came and wished me to crash.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was going to crash, they wanted to say they were there and
Yeah.
saw it. And I don't know how it
Well,
was for him either.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, people, it's human nature to some degree. People like to see train wrecks.
Yeah.
And you say, don't look, and then people look. You say, don't look, someone's going to get hurt. Let me see that. So just this is kind of just a question I came up with because I kind of put myself in your shoes a little bit and thought, like, what was the first Hollywood kind of set that you were involved with as a young stunt professional and walked on the set and you're like, okay, I'm here to work. I'm in Hollywood. There's some famous people here, and this is what was that moment, if you remember, and like, you know, what were you thinking going through? Because I watched. Oh, this has turned into a long question, but I watched the other day, not on purpose. It just happened to come across my feed in Hulu or something. Was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I never saw the movie. And I just kept putting it off for years. I just never watched it. I said, you know what, I should watch that. And I started to watch it because I didn't really know what it was about. I knew Quentin Tarantino was the director, and I knew Brad Pitt and all those guys were in it. So I started watching it, and then the story came out. I said, you know what, wow, this was just last week. So I was like, well, this is kind of like Gary, you know. And I'm like, not that you're the same as Brad Pitt, but just I thought about that. I'm like, wow, I wonder what it was like to walk on a set as an actor or a stunt coordinator the first time. What was that?
Well, the one that made the biggest impression on me was, in fact, the Evel Knievel one, because Sam Elliott wasn't a star yet. You know, he'd done a fair amount of guest appearances on on different episodic television.
Sure, and some of those were without that famous mustache, I think.
That
right?
is correct,
Yeah.
including him playing Knievel.
Yeah,
He had no
definitely.
mustache.
You can't have that big twirly mustache and do
No.
evil. No.
But that was the first time I had anything at all to do with Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they treated me terrific. You know, they fly you first class everywhere. They put you in great hotels and feed you really well, plus give you per diem and your salary. You know, and then for any of the stunts I did, you negotiate how much more money you're going to make for doing that particular stunt and stuff. So that was all new to me. I was just thrown into the mix. But, you know, when we'd break for lunch, we'd go to the commissary and eat, and there'd be 10 or 12 actors eating all around you that you recognize from all kinds of different TV shows and things.
Sure, yeah.
So I was in awe of the whole situation. I really was.
So was there anybody in that lead up, anyone that kind of mentored, or you mentioned you were just kind of thrown into it, so maybe not, but like that, because there's a lot of things behind the scenes, like you just mentioned pay and like, well, you know, obviously we want you to fall over the backside of a sofa. And then the next one is, we want you to jump a motorcycle over the top of a helicopter while it's in flight, and then parachute off the other side, and yada yada. And then, you know, there's super variances of degrees of danger. And like, how did you know about pay scales for those type of things? Of like, well, if I do this, I should get this much, or this is, you know, that much, or
Well,
was there anybody there? I guess my question was to kind of show you the ropes through that. Or just kind of learned?
generally speaking, there's a stunt coordinator on each one of these shows. There wasn't on my first one.
Mm-hmm.
They brought me in, and all of a sudden they were talking to me as though I were the coordinator. So when I got first time at CBS Studios, I like I said, I was in awe of the whole thing, and there was nobody to lead me through it really. I had to take the word of whoever was negotiating with me. You know, would you do it for this? Would you do it for that? You know,
I was pretty easy to get at that time because it all seemed fun to me.
Yeah.
I would have almost done it for nothing just to have done it. It didn't take me long to change that all around. But so after that, I mean, Bud Ekins was probably the top name in motorcycle stuntmen because he'd been around for quite a while, and he kind of took me under his wing for a while because he would get all the calls for motorcycle stuff, and he'd go, well, yeah, you know who you should call is Gary Davis, this new young kid we have.
So was this time frame like before the Evil movie or after?
This was right after we did the Sam Elliott pilot, Evel Knievel.
Okay.
It was before Viva Knievel, yes.
Okay.
When Evel played himself and I doubled him.
All right. So to clear that, there's two separate Evel Knievel
Correct.
movies. Okay.
Correct. And in between there, they did George Hamilton and did Evel Knievel as well. He played Evel.
George Hamilton.
They used real footage of Evel's stuff. Whenever Bud would get calls and stuff, he would talk me through them. He would say, now they're going to ask you to do this and do that and do this, they said. And so unless he was coming in as the coordinator, then my negotiations are with him, and then he tells the production company what they're going to do.
Okay.
Now, he was a good friend of Steve McQueen's, so when I would go to Bud Ekins' motorcycle shop and hang out in the evenings and stuff, I was mechanically inclined, so I would do a lot of the work back there. They're closed, and I'm in the back room, Steve McQueen's in the back room, and Bud's smoking. That's all I remember, him always having a cigarette. And we would be changing customer tires and putting bikes together out of crates, and things just to pass the time. And Steve McQueen, who at that time only drank Coors beer, would make sure that there was cases and cases and cases of cold Coors beer around.
That's interesting. Wasn't that like, I remember back as a little kid, like Pabst Blue Ribbon was real famous because they had the Pabst Blue Ribbon fight nights. But he did the Coors, huh?
Yeah, he liked
That's
Coors.
Amazing. Again, I'm young enough to know Steve McQueen, obviously. Probably some of the people watching don't really remember, but yeah, he's a super famous actor at that time.
Yeah.
And you're just hanging out in the back room, wrenching on bikes and drinking some Coors.
Well, if we're mostly talking to a motorcycle audience, a little movie called On Any Sunday, which was a documentary, right? Maybe to this day, maybe the best motorcycle movie ever made, was financed by him, McQueen.
Yeah.
But,
so he was in the movie. What was the military movie where he did the jump with the motorcycle over the fence?
and that was Bud Ekins that did the jump.
Oh, Bud
Great
Ekins
Escape.
Great Escape. That's right. So he was, but off camera, Steve was big into bikes.
Oh yeah,
and loved to ride as
he had a huge bike collection.
Wow.
And he loved to ride. He called me once and said, "Listen, I'm going to the desert tomorrow. Want to go with me?" I said, "I can't. I have a motorcycle chase to do at Saddleback Park," which was, Southern California. And I said, "You're welcome to come and play with us if you want." Half kidding. He said, "You know what? I might just do that. I will do it." Okay. Be it at Saddleback Park. It's 4:30 in the morning. We always get there early and start. As soon as the sun's coming up, we're ready to roll. And he came in and he was just one of the bike riders with us. And he had to sign a contract because he used to use his name Harvey Mushman a lot which was not his name, obviously.
Sure.
But he would, when he checked into hotels and stuff, he did all that kind of stuff. But he had to sign Steve McQueen to his contract. And in those days, I think it was like $214 for a day for us, for 8 hours of work, and then time and a half for the next 2 hours, and double time for the next 2 hours after that, or whatever. And then
we had stunt adjustments. So you could make an extra few $100s if you were just doing any tricks or anything. And so, you know, he signed a regular contract, and we gave him $300 extra, you know, as a stunt adjustment, it's called. And that's that negotiation thing you were asking about a bit ago.
Okay, yeah.
And then he took us all out to drink Coors beer.
Wow.
And we wrapped.
How cool is that? That's amazing. So we've thrown around a few terms from the beginning of this interview. Stunt performer, stunt coordinator, second unit director. Can you quickly kind of define what those are and what the responsibilities of each one of those are?
Okay. The stuntman is brought on the set as either a stunt double or just a stunt player, which if we have a barroom scene, we might bring in 20 other stuntmen and stunt women that would be customers and or waiters, bartenders. If we're going to have a fight in a little while, everybody's going to be involved.
Yeah.
Okay? And if 4 of those people are actors, they each have a stunt double there. Now, a lot of the actors like to do their own fight scenes and stuff, but you can only let them do so much of the fight scene, and usually only one half of it. So generally speaking, if you're the actor and I'm the stunt double for the second actor, you and I would fight because I'm not going to hit you. And if you hit me, nobody gives a damn. I have a bloody nose now and it's smashed, but no one cares because I'm not going to get a close-up, right? I'm doubling somebody else.
Sure.
But we go through the fight scene with them and teach them all the moves and things and do the parts. Now, the stunt coordinator is the one who is doing all of that, choreographing it, telling you when the fight's going to break out. We have 5 other fights going at the same time for the master shot.
Mm-hmm.
We will then go in and break it all up into a tighter shot of just this fight going on, whether it's 2 or 3 people, for instance. And then we go in tighter yet because we want the actors, the 2 or 3 of them that are actors in that bunch, to get a close-up and the punch coming across the face, and they have to take it at the same time and stuff. So that's all the coordinator's deal. Now, the coordinator's deal is also, he's been on the show for a few days, if not a few months, depending on what kind of show we're talking about. And he's got everything scripted out. He's designed the fight already. He's already negotiated with production of what it's going to cost, what the stunt adjustments are going to be, because one of the guys is going to fall from the banister upstairs and land on a table and smash the table and stuff. So he's going to get more money than the guy who just took a hit and went to the ground.
Okay.
Okay. Now
is the stunt coordinator ever in the movie and doing the stunts, or is he more a director of the stunt guys and the stunt professionals?
He's the middleman between the director or the second unit director, whichever happens to be. They're both the same qualified. They're directors.
Sure.
He's the middleman between them and all the performers out there.
But I guess my question is, typically they stay out of the shot and are watching the scene.
If it's a gang thing like that, yes.
Okay.
Often, like on Against All Odds, for instance, I was Jeff Bridges' double. So I drove the Porsche, I coordinated that, and that was also my first directing job.
Oh, okay.
So I was on 3 contracts every day.
This is just a career kind of question of, when you do a movie or a TV show, whatever it is, you film, boom, it's done, wrapped, and your job is over. Was it nerve-wracking, like waiting for that next thing? Like, I'm like, I gotta get another, or was there enough work that it was just kind of flowing? You always had something to do, or were there times where you were like kind of dry for 4 months or 6 months? You didn't have anything to do.
Hopefully not that long. But no. When they say wrap, basically we're unemployed. We're waiting for someone else to call. But like, we had little organizations. There's the Stuntmen's Association of Motion Pictures. There's Stunts Unlimited, which was I was in that one group, and then I went to Stunts Unlimited and became part of that group. Then there was maybe 32 of us at that time. So we tried to take care of each other. If one of us was running a show here, we'd use as many people as we could out of our group. Eventually, because I was working so much, and it mattered to me a lot, the performance that my stunt people gave. And so I went out of the group quite often, and that didn't make me real popular with a lot of them. But, you know, if I'm going to bring in the best motorcycle rider, the best cowboy, the best pilot, the best, the car drivers, there's a lot of us that are pretty good car drivers. Some do a lot more jumps than others, or different kind of rollovers than others. So I want to bring in the best I can for that. I also want to find the best double physically to someone who looks like the actor but can get the job done. Yeah, I won't just bring in somebody who's like his stand-in, someone who just is standing there while they set the cameras, and then they say, okay, we're ready to go. He goes and sits down while the actor comes in and stands where he was and does the job. I won't hire that person because he looks like him more, because I need someone who's really going to do the job that needs to be done.
That's what makeup's for, right? Hair and makeup.
Correct.
Get that guy to look like that guy.
Which is sometimes why I come out looking like a girl.
Yeah, that's funny. So there were occasions where you had to play a female role because she was going to ride a motorcycle and go head over heels, and I'm sure back then there weren't as many female stunt operators. Were there? I don't know.
No, there weren't that many, not compared. A lot of them, like stuntmen, they all kind of started in the Western days. That's when it really became something, you know.
Horses,
and the
gunshots,
girls,
fighting.
The cowboys and the cowgirls were the ones who did all that kind of stuff and did the fights, and it grew into something. I mean, there weren't even many stunt coordinators around when I started. I told you I did the Evel Knievel thing with Sam Elliott. We didn't have a stunt coordinator. That's ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah.
And immediately thereafter, everything I worked on, all the Aaron Spelling TV shows and stuff, were all run by a different Stunts Unlimited member. A man named Ronnie Rondell was kind of the head stunt coordinator for Aaron Spelling, period. Anything Aaron Spelling did, he'd call Ronnie in, and then Ronnie would put one of the other guys in as a coordinator and stuff, and he would oversee everything.
Yeah, he did a lot.
He was spectacular.
In the 70s and 80s, he did a lot of TV, or movies and shows, and yeah, my goodness. So going back, because like back what you just mentioned, that there wasn't as many people, wasn't as organized as it is probably today and stuff like that. So let's, on the phone, we talked about this a little bit. What's the difference between a professional stunt performer and someone that's just fearless or a little crazy, or the guy that says, hold my beer, watch this? What's the major difference there?
Professionalism, experience.
And does that go into like the adjectives, if you will, of stunt professional, daredevil? That's, I think,
one of my pet peeves.
Yeah. Okay.
I was a daredevil, as was Evel Knievel.
Okay.
I quit being a daredevil to be a stuntman. As a daredevil, within reason, you pound your chest, and I just set a world record. I'm the greatest. In the movie business, I do my best. I hope that everybody likes it, and he gets to take the credit. He's my actor.
Yeah, I guess if you did everything perfectly, and the hair and makeup did everything perfectly, no one even knows who you are.
It's
that you weren't even.
That's
in
the
it.
plan.
Yeah.
That no one's supposed to know.
Sure.
And now that there's so many stunt people, that there's lots to choose from that fit the part really well.
So I guess the daredevil would be, someone that's doing something super dangerous, hoping they don't get hurt,
but promoting themselves.
Sure. And then a professional stunt person is someone that's kind of out of the spotlight, but is planning something super safe that's going to look dangerous.
Correct.
Maybe that's the two. They're kind of backwards.
You're right.
to some degree.
They are. I've seen some of my footage that I felt was photographed terribly because I was frightened when I did it, and I watch it and it doesn't look like anything.
It looks simple and like, whoa, that's not what I.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't even brag that I ever did it because I'm embarrassed to see it. You know, and that's why I started directing, because I wanted to be in charge of where that camera ended up.
Camera angle, yeah, super important, especially like fight scenes. Get taken a punch. If
oh
it's
yeah,
the wrong angle. It looks like
real,
God. He missed his
a
face
big
by that
gap,
much.
right? That's the truth.
Yeah.
Or if a simple thing, if you're looking at a real steep hill, and you have someone go to that hill on a motorcycle and run up the hill, when you see it played back, it looks like he's just going down a dirt road away from you.
Yeah.
So you don't film it that way. You have to get off axis.
Yeah, that even happens with my camera on the bike. If I'm riding somewhere and I'm doing a moto vlog and I'm in this like really cool road that's twisty and has a lot of up and downs and elevation changes.
Only you know it.
And you're like, guys, this road in front of me, this is a big elevation change. And then when you watch the film part, it's like you said, it's just like a like a slope compared to what it really is.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What was there any stunts? I guess a two-part question. Any stunts you did, and as you got into it, you're like, oh, this is a little bit more than I bargained for. And then the follow-up to that would be, you know, did you ever get hurt doing a stunt?
There have been a couple that that frightened me. One was on Evel Knievel, and it wasn't one of the big jumps I had to do or the crashes that I had to do while jumping those. I pretty much had those figured out in my head, what I was going to do, and to not get hurt. But one of the stunts was to come down a mountain, and through that mountain there was a tunnel. In that tunnel was a tractor trailer semi truck. I come down on a motorcycle, a Harley, and when I get to the spot right here where is the exit, the tunnel exit, I jump my motorcycle out in the air, and hopefully at the same exact speed that I'm doing this, the truck appears and I land on a truck. That way it's not moving away from me, or I'm not passing it while landing on it.
Sure.
And there's only two ways it can go horribly wrong. One is I get there too soon. Now I'm going to land directly in front of a tractor trailer, and he's going to use me for all kinds of bad traction.
Yeah. Shredded
And
cheese.
the other one is I get there late, and I'm just going to land behind it and get aired out and not run over, but still hurt.
Sure.
And I was fortunate in that, but as the day went on, I got more and more frightened, quite honestly. And when it finally happened, it worked the first time. I laid the bike down on top of the truck, and we slid along the truck, but didn't go off the truck. We had put a little railing, a little chrome, in just as a dress railing all the way around the trailer, so that I had something to help stop the bike and or me grab onto if I had to.
Yeah.
And we were, I use the word lucky here very, very religiously. We were so lucky that it worked.
Yeah, because that's not something you can really practice too much.
No.
Because you are launching off, you know, if there's nothing there, you're high enough in the air that you land on a hard road like that, your motorcycle, you're just going to eat it.
Yeah.
That was
filmed,
that was a one-shot kind of deal where,
as far as I was concerned, it was the one shot.
Speed and timing were just, that was life or death right there.
I had my friend Kerry Lofton on a radio. The truck driver was on a radio, and I was on a radio. And he was giving us a count because he was watching. We ran rehearsals a bunch of times, but I can only run a rehearsal so far, and I have to abort. I have to stop before I get to the edge. The truck gets to come through at that steady speed each time. And Kerry was really good at gauging that, and he watched us both, and then now he would give us a count. 6, 5, 4. Well, by the time he's at 3, I'm committed. I'm going. So I'm really hoping that he's right. And he was. He was great.
And one of the things I just thought about this on the phone when we were chatting, one of the things you did for Evel Knievel, as well as I'm sure this one too, that was super important to you, that I obviously you're not I'm not an insider, so I didn't know that you used your front wheel connected to your speedometer, so you felt super comfortable what that speedometer is telling you was the speed you were at, because that really helped you nail that stunt, right?
Correct. When Evel called me to come take his place in London, I carried the front wheel, the cable, and my my speedometer as my carry-on the plane. I didn't want to check it because I didn't know if it would end up where it had to go, and I needed it.
Sure.
And when I got there, first thing I did was jack his bike up, take his wheel off, put my wheel and Speedo on there. So that was start recording it.
So that was a Honda wheel and speedometer on the front of the Harley.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That picture right there is of that, and then the bike is still up on my shelf in here. The bike that I took the wheel off of.
What do you think was in all the things you did as you did the stunt work, and then you did the pilot, and then you did the Evel Knievel, and then you got into the Hollywood a little deeper. What do you think was your breakout work, or the job that you did that really kind of pushed you up to the next level?
A couple. Certainly when I doubled Evel on Evel Knievel and had to, one of the jumps was 120 feet of lions and tigers in an open top cage. Didn't really matter. I didn't plan on going short. I didn't care what was in between. But I had to take off in the air, loop the bike over, toss it away, and then I would land on the other ramp on my back. Now I could have just slid down the ramp and slid to a stop eventually, but he's supposed to get hurt, so I dug my heels in, and I started flip-flopping like the bike was doing ahead of me.
So this is interesting, because this is what you did previously in your life, but you never crashed.
Right.
You never hurt yourself, and your goal was to jump that length and land safely. This was now someone saying, okay, we want you to jump this length and crash on purpose and flip-flop all over the place.
Correct. Mentally, that was kind of a mess. I had, up to that point, made 312 public jumps around the world and never crashed. Now, I grew up racing against some of the best racers. To this day, they're still known as the best racers. I was nowhere near as good a racer as they were. But when it came to the jumping thing, my physics minor helped me figure all that stuff out. And so I knew how fast to go. And when I started jumping British bikes, I kept two speedometers on. The rear wheel and the front wheel both had speedometers. And they both say 92. I'm feeling pretty good about the speed.
Sure.
All I got to do is ride the damn thing to the spot.
Yeah, so that was a big plus, your education.
Yeah.
Ramp angles and distance,
that's what I said about physics.
Speed.
I use physics every day, and I use it all the time in the movie business, because all my friends still call me to get ramp angles and speeds for the cars they're going to jump on, commercials and all kinds of things. I've had a lot of fun, but okay. So that was one of the deals. The next one I had to do was, in the storyline, Evel's supposed to make this jump, but when he lands, someone has sabotaged his front wheel, and he blows the front wheel, and it crashes him. The bad guy blows the wheel. So what I did was, I jumped, and when I landed on the rear wheel, but before the front wheel could come down, I turned it sideways, and I just held the brake as hard as I could. And when I came down, it just vaulted me. It vaulted the bike, and we were tangled together, and just it, me, And so those two gave me a lot to think about mentally, but I was pretty sure that my gymnastics ability would help me a little bit, and I had a pretty good knowledge of motorcycles and what crashing them, the picture of crashing them looks like, because I had to crash a number of less violent crashes in movies leading up to that. That movie,
every stunt coordinator in town showed up in the audience to watch, because no one thought I was going to do those.
Sure.
And so that launched me. You asked me the three that launched me.
Just quick before, because
Yes.
I'm getting old, I don't want to forget. Before we go to the next movie or that kind of launched you to the next level, because we were talking about this in the other room there, and I think it's really interesting. So for those watching, you know, of us that do ride motorcycles, everyone knows what low side means and high side means, and we were just chatting about, like, you know, on purpose dumping a bike, and you know, you had mentioned, well, low side's the easiest one. You kind of just slide sideways and let the bike kind of just slide away from you, whereas a high side is going to be, you know, over the bars, over the tank, go in the opposite direction. How did you do that? And you tell us a little bit about what you told me there with the you know, how you did the bungee cords and all that stuff.
Okay, those are two different things, really.
Okay, sure.
The doing a lay down on the low side is just as you said, that you just lock it up and throw it down, and that's a crash. Somewhat boring to me. They all look kind of alike, and when they
You both kind of just slide.
Yeah, and in the acceptance speech to the Hall of Fame thing, the clip they showed and stuff, one of them was just a lay down thing, and I thought, I wish they wouldn't have put that in there, you know, and jumping out the back of a truck. So some of them were kind of lame, but I didn't have any say so.
Sure.
A high side, I start to slide the bike down, and then I turn the bars back, and that pitches me off the bike ahead of the bike. That's a high side. I like high sides because I think they look so much better.
Well, they're much more violent looking.
They are more than just violent looking.
Yeah.
They are more violent.
More ragdoll.
on Charlie's Angels, they had a ticket booth built there, and they said they wanted me to lay it down in there, and I said, well, can we high side it? It'll just look better. And they said, you sure you can do that? And I went, yes, I am. So I came flying in, I slid sideways a little bit, cranked it backwards, it threw me through the ticket booth, which disassembled half the ticket booth, and then the bike came falling behind me. Now, on that one and on most of my stunts, I don't get to wear helmets. You know, bad guys don't put on a helmet before they do the chase. At least when I was dubbing all the Knievel things, I had helmets and leathers on.
Sure.
Here I'm wearing a suit and open-headed, as I was in most all my movies. So that's a high side. What I was telling you about was kind of a in between those two. It was to do a lay down, but instead of letting the bike go and it just sliding away, make it look a little bit better by putting a bungee cord on, which holds the bars this way. Now, when they call action, I turn them straight. I start going.
Okay, so
going. Now I go against it and lay the bike down. Now, when I let go of this, the bike is sliding away from me, but as I let go of it, it snaps the bars back this way and the wheel this way, and that vaults it up in the air.
Okay.
It's all about
Interesting.
making it more interesting on film, and which is why my directing career has done well, because adding little things like that matter to me, you know? If I have...
And that kind of shot, I guess, is like the camera's far enough away because it wants to capture that whole stunt that they don't
Correct.
see the bungee cords and the little details. And it
Correct.
happens so quickly.
Be hard to see the bungee cord. I don't use fluorescent ones or anything, you know? I mean, I make sure that they're, for the most part, hidden, and you would know what that was. Anyway, there's cables and things running. On one shot that I was doing second unit on Terminator 2, Arnold's up in the window of this 2-story building with a big gun shooting and stuff. And,
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
right? And I was just supposed to get a picture of him shooting from down here. But I had some of my stunt guys, and I had a special effects rig a bunch of shots in the ground. I had my stunt guys get up and start running, and those shots went at their feet in the foreground. And he's still in the shot back there.
Yeah, because that's the scene where he's ripping into all the police.
Correct.
That are out in front of the building
And
there.
not hurting anybody.
Yeah, because I think the kid told him don't kill anybody.
Right.
Because he's a good Terminator in
Yeah.
this movie, Arnold. Yeah.
And that was one of the shots that Jim Cameron said, I really appreciated what you did with that. So,
Yeah, that was cool. So let's get back to the second movie or second thing that kind of launched you up?
That was so Viva Knievel was, everybody showed up to see if I was really going to do the Rex that I promised the company. And then the next one was Against All Odds, because that's when I first got to shoot it the way I wanted to shoot it. My idea was to keep the cameras moving at all times.
So in that one, you were stunt coordinator.
I was stunt coordinator and the double person and the director. Anyway, so that one, because of the footage of that chase, people like Jim Cameron picked me to do T2 based on him seeing that footage. He said because it was inventive that I kept the camera moving the whole time. There was no stick shots where it just went by or you panned around with it. The camera was always moving with us, whether it was on another vehicle shooting back on us, whether it was on another vehicle. We had a Turbo Carrera insert car to follow us with cameras mounted to it, and it would follow everything we did.
So you had to run that chase quite a few times to make sure that you didn't see the cameras where they were placed.
Yeah.
So let's back up, and just for those that maybe don't know that movie, a little younger, you didn't see it, Against All Odds. It was with James Wood and who was the other gentleman?
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. And I'll put a link down below. There is a YouTube video out there somewhere where it just shows that whole car chase scene between the Ferrari and the Porsche. And to this day, I just watched it the other day again. It's really an amazing stunt in the way that it was filmed. And what road was that on?
Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard. Okay.
But thank you for that. Except anybody who's watching a movie nowadays and has all the abilities of the computers generating all the action and adding stuff in there, mine is far beneath that in action, I guess. That was in 1984, and it was 84 when we filmed it, 85 when it came out, I think. And at that time, it turned a lot of heads, and I got awards for it and everything, and it mattered. But nowadays, you go out there and one of the main actors will look back and the car blows up and he'll just take a knee and the car will twirl through the air and just he'll duck and it'll just land. I can't set that up. I'm sorry. I can't recreate that, I don't think.
Well, I think that this is a question I'm going to ask you later. I don't want to get into it too much, but I think the fact that it's real is important. And I think, there's a whole debate now about AI and all this other stuff. I mean, AI, someone could sit at home and have AI. You can tell the AI you want a song, you want it to sound like this, you want it to sound like this singer with this type of beat, go, and it will produce a whole song for you. And then you can play it and it could sound really good. I mean, it could be like, wow, that's amazing. But it's not real. You're not going to pay to go see someone press a button and play a song. You're going to pay to see the guy and the ladies and everyone, the drums and the real people doing it. Yeah. So that's, I think in my mind anyways, that's the same type of thing. That's a real stunt. Those were real people, real danger. And it was, if I see that same stunt now, I know it's fake. It still looks good in the movie, but I know it's fake. It doesn't give me the same kind of feeling that was done by a machine.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I was proud, and I still am proud of the Against All Odds chase, and I was proud of it then because those were real speeds, and we didn't undercrank the camera so that when you played it back, it looked faster because you don't get. If you're going to move a car and the tires are going to squeal and smoke's going to come off them when you do it, you need to have speed for that to happen, or else it's something they add in post, and we didn't do any of that.
Sure, yeah, definitely. So this is so Against All Odds, that chase scene that you coordinated and actually drove the Porsche in that kind of got the attention of certain people, and which led to James Cameron seeing it at some point and then leading you to be on Terminator 2.
Which would have been my third big bump in the business.
So that was, I think, pretty much anyone watching this should know Terminator 2. It was a huge movie. So how tell us a little bit about that, Terminator 2.
Well, we had an interesting start.
James Cameron and myself. He brought me into the interview because he liked my footage on Against All Odds.
Mm-hmm.
But a second unit filming alongside of his unit, or separated, but I mean filming the same movie, was not anything that he wanted or planned on allowing. He said, this is my movie and I'm shooting it.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you'll never get it done in time. We have to have it done by July 4th or whatever in order for it to be in the theater by such and such.
Now, is that why there are second unit directors, is for time, for purpose of condensing and getting this thing done faster, or is that's just the case in this?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Many movies have a second unit director, but their job is, some of them, is just sitting in a lab and doing claymation, or just doing.
Or maybe they have to film on the other side of the world or something. Maybe.
So, and something, yeah.
Location wise.
Or an insert of a hand coming in and the key turning and stuff. Rather than the director take all that time, a second unit will do that sometimes. Often, and I've gone against, on Proof of Life with Taylor Hackford again, he sent me to the other side of Ecuador because a volcano had gone off, and we wanted to get some of our guys that are taking David Morris, who they have kidnapped, and walking him. They wanted that. Well, by the time we got there and David Morris and everybody got there, it was no longer erupting. It was just smoking and stuff.
Yeah.
But
damn Mother Nature.
It took half a day to get there.
Sure.
But in second unit, it's mostly just to make up time, but it's now in categories of action. They'll a director who's really good with the people and actors and all that kind of stuff, but he has an action part in the movie all of a sudden, will call in a good second unit director to put a crew together and to go out and shoot that for him. Now, if he has specific things that he needs to happen in there, he needs so-and-so to be ahead the whole time, and only at the last second the other guy take the lead. Those are all notes and stuff that he gives this director, the second unit director, that's the person who's in my job, to go out and get for him. And then dailies, it used to be called at least, dailies. Now we watch it right away on playback. But dailies would be sent to him right away for him to critique.
Yeah, because back then you actually had to develop the film, right?
Yeah.
To actually see it.
Yeah. It was
and now, like you said, it's
way
just
different
like,
world.
Now you just push a button and go back and, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So for Terminator 2, I know there's lots of stunts in that movie. That whole movie is just beginning to end, action, fighting, shooting, all this. Let's focus on that Fat Boy Harley Davidson scene where Arnold jumps into the flood channel there. Let's talk about that. And how long? We'll talk about it, but also just throw in there like that shot on film. What lasted 3-4 seconds, maybe, that initial jump and boom, and it was in slow motion or whatever. That's all we saw as an audience. But how many days, weeks of time did that actually take?
That one particular shot took a couple days, 3 days.
Oh,
probably.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, because it was only for those seconds. But we had to bring in a crane on one end, a crane on the other end.
Yeah, so here's the magic part of Hollywood.
Yeah,
Let's
it wasn't
this.
A jump. We flew it in. The two cranes had a cable between them, pulled really tight, like a curtain rod might be. Now on that, 50 feet back from the corner of the canal where he's going to jump off and down, 50 feet back, we have it hooked up, the Harley hooked up on wheels that are going to roll on this cable, with cables coming down and holding it at whatever attitude we want it to fly at.
It's like a little gondola.
Yeah, it's just going to slide down this thing. And once it gets out here, one of my crane drivers is going to slowly release some of the tension, so it's going to drop.
Okay.
The reason it took us a couple days is we did that, 25 times or something, because this wasn't all that easy to do. to do it so it looked right. And if my rider that was up there, and through all this rehearsal, it was one of my stuntmen on it in case anything were to go wrong. When we actually did it, we put Arnold's stand-in on it because he looked the most like him, and it was going to be a pretty tight shot.
Sure.
So he was the passenger on the thing that happened. But we did a bunch of times, and sometimes it would rock in the air coming down. Well, that's not right. Or it would land, and pegs would break off, and or it'd bounce funny. And it took us a while to get it right.
And then prior, in the movie, anyways, timeline wise, before that, moving back a little bit, was the semi truck plowing through the bridge thing and then going into the channel and chasing the kid.
Yes.
Was that a part of your team as well, doing all that?
That was my team. However, the first time that we actually did the real go, we did a couple slow rehearsals up to it, but then we decided, okay, we're going to go for it this time. And when we did, one of the cables snapped or certainly came loose. And we were pulling it. We had two other trucks going away from the location that we didn't see. And their cables ran through some shivs, some pulleys, and then out to the truck. And as they went away, it would pull the truck in because the truck didn't have an engine in it or a transmission because those were heavy. And we were trying to get it where it would float a little bit.
Catch some air. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did. It really still dove because we could never get it to go fast enough, and we were running out of time. The permits only allowed me to be there till 4 or something like that, and it was like 5 minutes to 4 when I'm calling action. And they came in, and when it looked great, we had already put in our own fake brick and all that kind of stuff, so it didn't really hold it back at all. The concrete bricks were all like styrofoam-ish material.
So there was a lot of stunts in that. I don't know in the movie how long that whole scene was, maybe 10 minutes or I don't know how long it was, but it was the kid on the bike and then the truck diving down in there and chasing the kid, and then Arnold diving down in there and passing the truck and saving the kid and all that. So then the kid part of it too, how did the actor, I can't remember his name, but the young boy on the there's tight shots of him actually. So was he on something pulling him along, and then you had the stunt double back and forth? How'd that work?
Like on Lost Boys and Grease 2 and all these things, when I had other actors that had to ride bikes, I trained them to ride. And Eddie Furlong was the actor boy that you're talking about, right? I had every day he had to go to Spanish lessons because he speaks some Spanish a little bit in the movie, and he had to go to gun handling lessons, and he had to come see Gary Davis and have motorcycle lessons. Well, he wouldn't pay any attention. I mean, I'd be trying to get him to do stuff, and I would say, no, okay, now this has to happen, and we're going to do this time, and he'd say, how do you think the Dodgers will do today? And out of nowhere, he would just have these. I know he's not listening to me. He's somewhere else. I got him eventually to where he could ride around the parking lot, but not stop on cue successfully or leave smoothly. So I just told production, he can't ride. We're going to build a trailer-ish thing. It's really going to be something that just holds his front wheel, and he's going to hold on to the bars, and we're going to tow him along.
So this is like a chips thing.
Yeah.
Put two bikes on a trailer and drag it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and those bikes, and both chips could ride. It was just mainly because they wanted them to stay in focus and look nice and stuff, is why they were on a trailer.
Sure.
When we wouldn't let Evel ride anymore on Evel Knievel because he fell down, same thing. You know, they put him on a trailer, and he was just like the Chips show again.
So there's shots of Eddie, you know, getting towed. Then there's shots of, then there was a stunt double, or I remember you telling me something about there was
two different stunt doubles.
There was one that was smaller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eddie Furlong rode an 80cc, an XR 80cc Honda. And so one of my stunt doubles was the same size as he, and so I put him on an 80. He wasn't
facially as good a double. He had hard features, and darker eyes and stuff that just popped a little bit if you saw him. And he wasn't as talented a bike rider as this other guy, Doc Charbonneau, but Doc was a little bit bigger. So I also brought in a 100 Honda. And it looked the same, and everything was right. And when you saw him on it, the relationship looked the same. And if they're not standing by something to give that away, if Arnold's not right there with them, and you go, okay, well, this one's this big and this one's this big.
Yeah.
There's nothing else it's just the bike riding. And Doc was really good about knowing where the camera was and moving and trying to make things happen. Never letting you look at his face really well. So he was the one I wanted to use all the time. But Cameron liked Bobby, the other one, because he was smaller.
And looked size-wise, looked more.
He sounded better.
Okay.
He sounded like he looked better, but he didn't. And so most all of that was done on the 100.
And then the finished part of that is Arnold swooping in, and so I guess it was the same thing. There was parts of Arnold being on a trailer, maybe being towed, and then parts of the stunt double actually doing the. Because I think he grabbed the kid off the bike.
Correct.
Right,
stuck him
and then
on
the
there.
bike got run over, and then they
that
took
was
off.
all a stunt double doing that.
Oh, okay.
And now we're at the dangerous part. So I can't even take the chance of putting those two for real in front of this big semi going through there.
Sure.
Anything goes wrong, any stupid little fall, it's crappy in there. It's wet.
Sure.
It was too dangerous. So all of that stuff you see with Arnold and him, that's all blue screen.
Oh, okay. I asked you earlier this question. I just thought it was interesting. It's just a unique role and job you have, that you're getting paid to do something that may or may not be used. Maybe you shoot an hour worth of footage and 30 seconds of it gets in the movie or not. So have you ever had a job where you did all the work, got paid for it, and then it just never made it to the screen or wasn't used to the full extent?
It's probably happened a lot in little bits of things. I mean, a big chase scene or a big action sequence, much of that might get eliminated for any various reasons. Not necessarily because it didn't look good, but I mean, on Against All Odds, when the movie was first assembled, it was over 3 hours long. And
wow.
and the studio wasn't going to have that. They can't play it as many times.
Well, especially back then. That was,
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until more recent that it was common for like Lord of the Rings and all these movies to be 2 hours and 50 minutes or pushing 3 hours. Avatar, some of these type of movies. Yeah. Wow.
2 hours was probably the limit they would allow, and we were way over. And so one of the sequences I did in a car in the Ferrari, I drove it on the freeway late at night where we weren't supposed to be and stuff, and did a bunch of great stuff. And when they assembled this thing, it was really exciting, and it didn't make the movie. And so all the scenes afterwards that pertained talking about that and stuff, that was all taken out of the movie. So a big chunk of the movie got to go away, but we didn't get to see it. And I would much like to have seen it in the film.
Yeah. That's difficult. I mean, as that's where movies get caught. Like people that really pay attention, they'll say they reference something, but what was that? You know? That's very difficult as a director and editor or whatever to make sure if you take that out, then all these other little bits that led to that have to be removed as well.
Yeah, it's a house of cards.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you did mention earlier, Terminator 2. Back to Terminator 2, you were up front before you even started. You were kind of put in a position of like, you're going to work, you're going to get paid, but you're what you do is never going to see the light of day.
Yeah, it kind of took the air out of the meeting. I had just done. Jim Cameron had watched Against All Odds, and he liked my footage a lot. And so, when the studio was forcing him to have a second unit running so they could get finished in time, he was going to shoot as much as he could and stuff, but the action was going to be designated to someone like me. So he called me in. He said, because of your footage on Against All Odds, I want you to be my stunt coordinator and my second unit director. He says, the studio's forcing me to have a second unit. I'll tell you right now, I don't want to have a second unit. And by the way, I don't plan on using one frame of your footage. Am I still getting paid for both jobs?
Yeah.
He goes, yes, you are.
Okay.
And he liked that because he liked that I was making a lot of money on the thing, because he wanted them to go, this second unit's costing us too much and we're not getting anything out of it.
Sure.
And
but what did that do to your mindset going into this? It's like going into, you know, the Super Bowl and they tell you up front, you're going to lose. You have to lose. You're going to fumble the ball and you're going to lose, but you're still going to get paid. And, you know, how do you go into a job like that, you know, gung-ho, and to do your best? I mean, it must be difficult.
It honestly was just mind-boggling more than anything. And so my ego entered into it a little bit. I said, well,
I'll show
I'm
him.
I'm gonna do some really, really good stuff the first day. So, you know, I put in my schedule, I had some really cool stuff for him to see. Mm-hmm. And hopefully he would be impressed enough to say, oh, well, maybe we'll keep that at least. You know, I just wanted some acknowledgement that might lead to something better.
Well, that was a good way to go into it. I mean, you went, that kind of, well, I'll show you. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to do the bare minimum, and I'm going to get paid, and that'll be it.
Yeah, no, I can't do it that way.
Yeah, I can't do it that way. Good for you.
Now, we spoke of dailies, and for those that don't know what that is, we film one day. That night, all that film gets washed, they call it, right? It goes right in and developed and stuff. And the next day, after filming hours, we all show up at one of the staging studios and stuff and watch all our dailies, everything we shot. And from that, like, I might have done a stunt 4 times, and I knew I didn't like 2 of them, but I'm not sure which of the other 2 I like, so I would say, print those 2. The other one doesn't even get printed. That doesn't go in the bath. It doesn't get thrown away because I could be wrong at some point and need that. So they only print those 2. Well, so we come to dailies the next day. Now, most of what I shot, I didn't have a sound man given to me at that point, and so it was silent. It's called MOS. And so I knew they were going to be boring, because you can see cars come sliding through a corner and stuff, and then tires spin and get out. If there's no sound, it's not very exciting. I promise.
That's just, you know, as a movie watch, that just binged me something in the head here. That's why I think probably a lot of those 70s and 80s TV shows, when they're chasing each other in cars going on dirt roads, but they use the sound effects for a street, like the squealing. You're like, there's no squealing on dirt. What is that? So that goes to your point. I guess that's probably why they did it, because it's just a little boring to hear nothing or just hearing dirt instead of.
They would have to lay all mine in out of their sound library, but I knew that was going to happen, and we're going to be in the room watching silent, and it's not going to be very exciting. So I brought in what we had them as ghetto blasters, they were called, these little portable stereos, and I put some heavy duty music on, and I cranked it way up, and my stuff started. We watched all his dailies, and then it popped up and said Director Gary Davis, and it starts, and it said second unit, and it starts, and I click this thing on, and it's loud, and we see all the cars come sliding and all the things we're going to do and stuff. And he had already, when his name went off there, he turned his chair around because his editor was sitting behind him in the screening room, and they were making notes. So now he's not even looking at the screen. I mean, he's making a point to let me know I'm not using your crap.
Yeah, sure.
But the other people that are in the room, some of the producers, the transportation guys and stuff, because everybody's involved, all the department heads, because if there's wardrobe involved and they go, uh-oh, that's the wrong jacket, you know, and
Sure.
And the car broke or something. I mean, now we got to match it. It's got to be like that tomorrow, you know. So everybody's in there, but the people are going, oh, ooh, and starting to applaud. And he'd look over his shoulder every once in a while, and then he turned his chair around and watched the last part of it. But by this time, I had decided I'm never coming back to dailies. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm not coming to dailies. And so I told the producers right then, every day I want a copy of all my footage sent to me on the set in a VHS copy, so I can watch it on the set the next day I'm shooting. I don't have to see it big screen and brilliant color and all that stuff. And now I'm walking out the door, and I no sooner get to the door, and I'm just leaving, and a hand grabs me on the shoulder and said, "Gary," and I went, "Oh, God is speaking," you know. And Jim said, "Try to get these tomorrow too." He had made a little list of stuff he wanted me to try to get.
He gave you a shopping list.
Yeah, and I'm going, okay,
Wow.
now I'm not sure where I'm at in this thing. Is he just making sure he's wasting more time? I don't know.
Wow.
And he
Yeah,
made it
it's-
hard for me in a lot of times. I'd need a vehicle, whether it was a camera support vehicle of some kind, an insert car or something, or whether it was one of the picture cars or whatever. All of a sudden, they said, "I'm sorry, it's stuck on first unit. We can't have it." And I'd be out there twiddling my thumbs when I'm supposed to be shooting.
That's amazing. In there, you mentioned about, you know, all the different department heads watching, and again, it's amazing how much music is a huge. I mean, if you ever just watch a scary movie and shut the volume off, and the scary stuff happens, you're like, eh. You know, then you turn on, you get the cellos and the violin, all that scary stuff. Then you're like, oh.
Even Jaws.
Oh my God! My son plays. He's in the orchestra. He plays violin, cello. That was one of the first things when he played the cello as a second instrument. I said, "You know Jaws?" He's like, "No," and I said, "Well, this is what it is." And then I had him play that. Dun, 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 you know, that's pretty funny. But anyways, back to my question. We were talking before about Captain America. One of the things you worked on. And you will take a look at it. Get the motorcycle out there. You mentioned that they filmed a whole bunch of it, and the Captain America uniform was completely wrong. It had stripes from top to bottom to his waist, where the real uniform only has it from top to like here or so, and then the rest is different color. And they just had to change it right in the middle. So in the movie, you see both.
Yes.
They kind of flubbed it.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. That is, like you said before, a deck of cards. There's so many pieces holding that as you build it as a director, that whole thing could just collapse. And there's nowadays, because of YouTube and all this stuff, people watch and they pull movies apart,
yeah.
like down to the little fine thing. But well, the hair was combed the wrong way that day, or this was, you know, they forgot the guy's earring or whatever.
There are people with YouTube channels, and that's all they do is list all the mistakes.
Because I would imagine literally sometimes you shoot something, and then you got to go, maybe a week or two could go by and say, you know, we need to go back and add this little part onto that part. So everything has to be exactly the same.
Yeah, but today they can do that. You know, today they can do it optically.
Yeah.
We don't have to go do a lot of stuff. I did I've done lots of commercials, but I was doing a Chevy commercial once, and it actually got an award that year and everything, and they liked it so much that they ran it the next year as well. But the next model has the little logo on the door was just in a little different place.
Oh,
So optically they changed
just
that and they ran
computer-
this commercial just like it was otherwise.
So for I was going to ask something else, but first, so the stunt work, it encompasses everything. I mean, there's so many facets to it. You came into it as a motorcycle rider, and so that was kind of your motorcycles was your thing. But as you progressed into Hollywood, there's cars, there's fight scenes, there's, like you mentioned earlier, horseback, cowboys, gunshots. high falls, all these different things, and certain people are really good at certain aspects of it. How did you learn the rest of it? Because you came in with you were a motorcycle guy. You could do wheelies, you could do everything, jumps, amazing jumps, world record jumps, all that stuff. Drop the bike, high side, low side, all that. How did you learn the rest of it?
I had a handle on motorcycles when I came in.
Mm-hmm.
I had also driven some NASCAR. While I was jumping, David Pearson offered me a ride in the Easter 250. But and I had done a lot of car stuff. But although I had horses when I was growing up, I was never a really good horsebacker. I was not a cowboy. I would go occasionally. I would rope in rodeos and stuff, but I wasn't a cowboy. Just like I don't think most people are motorcycle riders. Really good riders. So as I latch on to an actor, I was a good double for Sam Elliott because I was wearing leathers and a helmet. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, most of my actors are way prettier than me, so I'm not a great double for a lot of them. But physically, the both Bridges boys, I've doubled Bo and Jeff and Bruce Boxleitner and Perry King and all these guys. They do everything in their movies, and if there's a big horsebacking scene and stuff, and I won't even attempt. I can ride, and two of those guys I just named are great horsebackers themselves. Larry Wilcox and Bruce Boxleitner are both cowboys. They grew up being cowboys. And so I'm going to bring in somebody who I think is a top-notch rodeo cowboy quality stuntman to double them. My job is to make them look as good as possible. If I can't personally do that, I'm going to make sure it happens, but someone else is going to be doing it.
Okay.
If it's things with motorized things and stuff, I got a pretty good handle on it. Mm-hmm. I've only fallen just under 60 feet in a high fall, and that's as far as I want to go. There are plenty of guys who go above that, and they can have all those jobs.
Yeah.
The 60 feet took some air out of me when I landed. I went, "Ooh, that was all I needed to do."
So it sounds like it's. I'm sure there are the jack of all trade stunt people, but I'm learning from you. It's better to find the experts of each one, instead of a jack of all trades guy.
A whole bunch of us are pretty well rounded,
mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean we're the best.
Sure.
In many of them.
Who is you've worked with a lot of famous people, movie stars, and all that. Who out of all those movie stars impressed you the most in terms of them getting involved with you? Like you said, Eddie, he was a young kid, but he just wasn't there, and he was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Who impressed you most for being there with you, really absorbing what you were telling him, and also wanted to say I can do that stunt, or I can try it? Who do you think was, out of all those movie stars, were like that?
Ben Stiller on Starsky and Hutch would always show up and practice and get things right, and we would talk to him about how to both throttle and brake at the same time, and how to spin the cars and stuff. And he wanted to learn, wanted to be able to do it good. Mm-hmm. Where his co-star Owen Wilson never showed up for any of the motorcycle things, especially. But when I had to get the guys trained and okay their abilities on motorcycles, we were going to do and take on Easy Rider, and we show our two guys dressed kind of like the guys on Easy Rider, and Ben Stiller once again always showed up, always did his job perfectly, and Owen didn't show up. So when it came right down to it, the studio said, "Did he show ever?" And I said, "No." He said, "He can't ride. We would have to lose the scene, or we could do it a different way." So I had a special, more of a tow rig, and towed him by the front axle, And so he'd be going along, and Ben would be riding beside him and pull up beside him and back and forth and in and out.
It
and
looks,
stuff.
it looks more natural.
And,
almost.
and I would start with the camera down here and come up and show that it was Owen here, and then I'd move over and see Ben, and and it turned out okay.
So Ben Stiller was one of the actors that
He's
kind of
so professional.
that really came and listened and practiced and wanted to do something. How about any other actors that actually wanted to do their own stunts or try or?
Well, most of them, first of all, most of them are smart enough not to do their own stunts, because it doesn't take much of anything to take twisting an ankle, getting a cut on your face. Any of that stuff stops production.
Sure.
And you don't just go, okay, well, let's move on. We'll shoot on his back the whole time or something. It doesn't work that way, really. I mean, it's tough. You can maybe squeak some stuff in, but most of them will say, this is where I step aside and Gary Davis steps in, or whoever, And
I guess the studio would probably be the one to say, yeah, it's nice you want to try, but no.
Well, the studio's always trying to tell Tom Cruise he can't, but he seems to win.
Yeah.
We stopped Evel from riding the bike on Evel Knievel. We said, no more. You can't get on the motorcycle anymore. We put him on a trailer.
Motorcycle's been a big part of your life, obviously.
Yes.
What did you, when you were younger, not kid, but you were already working in the industry and stuff like, did you ride motorcycles every day, or was it just motorcycles became work for you and you really didn't ride for your own fun and pleasure?
Once I got in the business, I rode motorcycles almost every day, not necessarily to work and back. I always had hills and lots of property around where I was often running around a track the whole time, or just cow trailing through the desert, like in Arizona. Well, I was in Arizona for a long time in college, so I was always riding. And if I wasn't riding a motorcycle, I was doing something that pertained to stunt work. We had motorized skateboards. We go diving. We would do all kinds of stuff. We always would do things to be active.
We were out there looking at some bikes, and a lot of what you've done in your career is having to have custom built things, be a custom built ramp or a fake bridge with fake blocks, like you said, or this we need a motorcycle that can do a certain thing. And one of the bikes showed me is one of a kind out there. It was a Honda, I believe.
Oh, the prototype?
Yeah, so it's a one of one made. It's a Honda bike, but made by a couple of people, special in suspension and whatnot.
The suspension was designed by Gil Valancourt from Works Performance Shocks, and the frame was built to accommodate that by C&J Frames. And Jeff, the guy who actually did the handiwork on that one, they built it all for me. It was the first single shock 4-stroke, actually anything that Honda had. Would have been their first single shock. And we built it in 1979 for an XR 500, and we took it to Honda, and they kind of knew we were doing it. We talked to them before, but when we brought it to them, they said, well, for the last couple of years we've been kind of working on an idea that we have, and they call it the ProLink, and it still didn't come out for 2 years later. It came out in 81, I think, and this was a 79 Honda that we made, and it has 13 inches of travel in the rear. None of my front ends are good enough to work with that. It's so good, it's perfect, and it just sits out there. I raced it a few times in big races and stuff to have fun.
What was that built for?
It would have been a motocross bike.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
But when we built the Captain America bike, that's also my bike. It's a TT 500 Yamaha underneath all that. But every time, I was along, I didn't physically get to build it like I do a lot of my other movie bikes, but I was with the Universal prop shop effects department when they were building it. They had to build it to my specs and stuff because, you know, they wanted wings to pop out at some point and stuff and to jump. I'm going, I'm not doing it that way, you know. And but we got you know, full shields and all that plastic. Believe me, crosswinds are a big deal when I'm making a big jump on that. And I jumped off the top of Folsom Prison. We had to jump it and try and get onto a helicopter. We've done a lot of stuff with it, and it's been in the Hall of Fame Museum a number of times. And whenever they borrow it to put it on display for a year or so, it's insured for $300,000. You know, in case anything happens to it along the way.
All right, so since you're such an accomplished motorcycle rider, both just standard riding, racing, stunts, all that stuff, over the years, what have you learned, maybe one or two things about riding that you could pass on to riders that are watching, that maybe, you know, new riders or just regular riders, something that you could pass on to them that will maybe keep people safer, or things to, you know, pay attention to there's for riding bikes?
Wow. First of all, I think that if you're going to get a bike for the first time, and you're because you want to be able to ride it to work or to school or whatever, I think you've missed a step. I think you have to buy a bike and ride it off-road for a while before you think about going out and matching yourself against automobiles and trucks and manhole covers and painted stripes in the road and all these things that you don't even give thought to. And if you're concentrating so much on just what it takes to make the bike work, you miss a whole lot of what's going on. Even in a controlled atmosphere in a movie, when I have police holding traffic on all the side streets and everything, and we're going to do a big fast run, go through head-on traffic, I'm going to tell you, I've almost never gotten one done without all of a sudden there being a bogey. Nobody admits where it came from. Someone's driveway, all of a sudden there's a car. I have a case here that when I set up any of the chase scenes, I bring out all my toy cars and stuff. And first we put it on the ground with chalk, and I show everybody how it's going to work, and then we get up and we walk it and stuff, because it's easy to go out there and go, I don't remember that white van being there, and it's all of a sudden coming at me. You know, there's a lot to learn about riding a motorcycle before you ride it on the street, and if you're on the street, some of the things I named, if there's any moisture at all, one of the worst things you can come across is just stripes in the road. Yellow stripes, white stripes in the road. They're slippery. They're slippery enough without water, but if there's any water at all, that's slippery. Manhole covers are slippery. You should always be watching everything around you, because a dog's going to come out at any time. You don't know that. It could be a child. It could be a ball a beach ball that someone's just thrown over someone else's head. You have to always be looking for stuff. I'm always, even when in California you're allowed to split traffic, and you're not allowed to in Texas.
No.
But I'm going to tell you what, there's a whole lot of guys chewing that spit out, or they throw a cigarette out the window and stuff, and the cigarette lands down your shirt and stuff. You have to kind of imagine, as you're going through traffic or passing anybody or just going down the street watching, you have to imagine the things that could be happening, because they will happen eventually.
Yeah, that's I think my big one is critters out here in Texas. And you know, all the fun roads are usually out in they're all in the hill country. You're up, you know, you're in these curvy, twisty, fun roads surrounded by wooded areas and lots of deer around here. And I've seen all kinds of things. I think the funniest thing I ever saw was a tarantula. There was a car in front of me, a little 3 Series BMW, and I was probably 3 car lengths away from them, and they swerved in the middle of the road. And I said, well, they swerved, either there's something in the road, or debris, or some kind of critter. And when they swerved, I got to look at it, and it was, you know, bigger than your hand.
Oh, my goodness.
Black tarantula, and it ran back into the wooded area. But it was big enough that the car driver saw it and swerved. Out here, there's so many deer, roadrunners, feral hogs. A peacock ran out in front of me once. Snake, frog, armadillo, turtles, you name it. There's so many critters. You got to be careful.
Right. And if you're concentrating on which way the shifter goes up and down and stuff, you haven't got a prayer of missing those things.
That's
Let
true.
me grab something here. This case, I get lots of press on this case. It started out in the 70s. We would just grab a rock and a piece, a leaf, and an old cigarette. We'd put chalk on the ground and go, okay, you're going to do this. Well, so I took it to another step, and it matters. There's 3 levels. There's another level down there. So I take all these things, and I have an insert car that we use, and maybe there's an ambulance like this, or an ambulance like that, or police cars. It doesn't matter. I have a match for almost anything in here.
Look at this one.
Right?
Yeah, you even, here, hold that up. You even have the camera rig on the back there.
Just
and
so
on
there's
top,
no...
so you know where it's at.
When I have my meeting, everybody's here, and I draw the street lines and stuff, and all my cameramen are there, the extras, the driver, everybody. And if I can't match the cars, like here's a Darcy and Hutch car. If I can't match the cars exactly, then I at least put the color of the car out there before we all rock it. And here's these two have been with me a long time. Recognize those two?
Oh, there you go. That's against all odds.
That's against all odds.
A Porsche and a Ferrari.
Yep.
They're banged up. You've used them so much.
Oh yeah, and actually, that's one of the rules I had in Against All Odds. The Porsche gave us 2 Porsches, and they were the first 2 cabriolets in the country, and Ferrari said the same. They matched it, and they said you can't have our cars cause anybody else to wreck, and they can't get a scratch on them. I went, oh, this is going to be a fun chase. I mean, he just took a whole bunch of stuff away from me.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's their marketing department. We want positive vibes from our cars and positive news from our cars. No crashes.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
See, I put, this is a pipe ramp. We use a pipe ramp, to let them know that this car is going to end up on this ramp, and, It's
no, that's important.
It is. It's visual,
Get it, visually stuck in your head and build muscle memory.
Muscle memory. That's when we do the walking, the muscle memory. You know how many times I went to my left,
Yeah, you see the not that they're stunt guys, but the like the Blue Angels and all those fighter pilots. They'll walk with their hands out in front of them, making the motions and pulling the stick, and they're just walking, to kind of simulate their flight pattern and where they're going to go and not run into each other.
Boy, and their stuff happens fast,
Yeah, let me move this camera back over here. Yeah, that they don't have much option for a mistake there.
No,
not at all. When they're that's amazing. Those guys fly feet from each other, doing a few hundred miles an hour. So do you back to the riding and all that stuff?
Sorry.
Do you ride at all now around Texas, or
I
not
don't
so much?
really. Both Donna, Renee, and I have street bikes, but I don't mind the weather so much. It's usually either too cold or too hot for her. There's not a big window here of when the weather's really nice. And she's got a electric glide, a big full dress electric glide Harley.
So let me guess, she rides more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is brutal. Like I came here, it was not that bad. It was 85 degrees, in the morning riding up here, but I know going home it's going to be probably triple digits. I'm kind of used to it, but it's not comfortable, unless you get on one of the back roads and you have no stop signs, no lights, and you can just get wind. Then that's okay. Get some wind therapy, as I always like to say. Anyways, let's go back to a question of, we were kind of talking about CGI before a little bit, and now we have AI, artificial intelligence. It's at a point now where they're making full-on movies now based on, or short movies based on someone prompting an AI to make a movie. I've seen recently some Star Wars shorts that someone made that were 15-20 minutes long, and they have all the actors in it. They don't look animated, they look real, the voices, and it was someone just prompting it to make something that never existed before about Star Wars. And I watched one of them. It was 20 minutes long. I watched the whole thing. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So with that in mind, what are your thoughts about moving forward for stunt workers, and I guess actors in general to some degree, but what's going to happen with that, where they can just say, we need a guy that flies through this window, off a cliff, bounces off of here, boom, just animate it. It's cheaper, faster, easier.
It's completely being done all the time now. As far as robbing the likeness of the actor, that's a whole litigation that's being dealt with.
Sure.
But as far as our stuff, the two Amazing Spider-Man movies that I did, I mean, we flew guys around on cables and stuff. They don't do that now, and they're doing exactly the things you said. They're boinging off of this building and flying over there and smashing into that one. And I mean, we can't compete with that, really.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's the first time I saw a lot of computer-generated animation or imagery in a movie that was kind of sizable. Was one of the, it wasn't the first one, it was probably the second or third Matrix movie, where there was huge fight scenes, and it was so obvious it was computer animated. It was like, didn't really look that good, because you could just look at it and say, okay, that's fake. That's a computer. Whereas now it's like you can't tell.
You can't tell very easily
it
now,
looks real,
right? And the audiences that are your age, my age, we grew up seeing actors, real everything. Kids younger than us grew up doing this all day and watching stuff and borderline cartoon to real person. I mean, they accept it. It's to them, it's not that big a jump.
So what are you not very optimistic about the future?
Well,
or do you think there'll be a place for it? Like I said before, certain things, I think, like music. Are you going to go to a concert and just there's a guy on the stage, he pushes a button and an orchestra plays, and there's no orchestra? Is that exciting? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I want to see the real deal.
Of course you do, and that's how I feel about movies. But I don't know what this generation behind me is likely to accept. When Cameron did Titanic, there's a part where the boat finally breaks and goes up before it sinks down. And you saw guys from way up here falling and hitting tables on the way down and stuff, Well, the ones that were falling 30 feet, maybe 40 feet and hitting things, certain things that were rigged and going in, were humans. None of these were.
Oh, so it was a blend.
Yeah.
So I kind of can see
We did what we could do.
Yeah.
Not we, I wasn't on it. But
But I guess that was important back then, because it was not a perfect science. Like you could tell, like I said, with the Matrix, it was very easy to see that Keanu Reeves flipping around and kicking people, he wasn't a real person. It was
right.
It was like a cartoon almost. And that if you go back and watch that now, it's like, oh gosh.
And yet it was a huge hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it still was, because the first one was great. But I think that's to the credit of James Cameron, knowing that the technology is quite not there yet, but we can use these little guys that you can't really see, you know, from what the equivalent of a 10-story building fall, you know, bouncing off of stuff, whereas these guys down lower that we're going to be tighter on, or you can see
Right.
are real stunt workers, and just blend the two together. Whereas now I think it's moving, it doesn't matter anymore. You can recreate a stunt close up or far away.
Jim Cameron's about as creative as a person can be.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's it. Thank you so much. This has been a long interview. It's my longest interview ever, and
I know you didn't get to eat anything.
and the most interesting, I have to say. You know, most of my videos are just about motorcycles and stuff, but this is really fun. Thanks so much for your
my
time.
pleasure.
It's
Fun for
great.
me.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, because like I said, I was racking my brain trying to figure out what to ask this gentleman, because there's been so many things he's done in his life. If you have any questions, you know, you want answered, feel free to put it in the comment section below, and I'll see if we can get an answer for you. But thanks you for joining, and you know, please give us a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It'd be really helpful to me. And that's it. Thanks, Gary. Thanks you guys for joining us.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Take care. See you next time.